Welcome back, scholars. We're already at week 3 of CJS350, Emergency Management. I hope we had a good, successful week 2. In week 2, we dived into one of the disciplines of emergency management called mitigation. This week, we're going to then now go into probably one of them that you're a little more familiar with, and that's preparedness. Oftentimes, many of us have probably either worked in a workplace or we've been a part of an organization. At some point, we've came across some sort of preparedness exercise, preparedness literature on what we need to do to be prepared for the next emergency. And as emergency managers and in the emergency management world, what you do is you try to forecast what the next emergency will be, the severity of the next forecast, and try to come up with plans so that when the emergency occurs, that people are prepared. And that will piggyback into the second portion of this week, which is the key to communications. Coming off of COVID, or maybe we're still in COVID, we saw firsthand that many of us were not prepared. Myself working in emergency management, we had preparedness, we had pandemic preparedness, but nothing to the magnitude that COVID was going to bring, nothing that we've ever had planned on. If anything, we had always kind of planned on the opposite. We thought that when a major emergency would occur, we would all gather together in one building, kind of run run the city, kind of collaborate, break down silos, work together to contain continuity of services to all of our residents. And all that was thrown out the door when COVID occurred, and we all needed to not gather, and we needed to work remotely. So many of the city services, many of the things that we had come accustomed to in emergency management, we weren't able to do. So it's a great example this week, us still in COVID or on the end of COVID, to reflect and see how preparedness and how communications kind of will work, and especially as we move through this week. Our module objectives, we can read through this week to kind of get an idea of what we expect to have or to understand by the time we get done. For our reading this week, we're in 2 chapters. We're in chapter 4 and 5. Once again, 4 being the preparedness discipline, and 5 being communication, and how communication is so critical, especially in the world we live in today. With the lectures I've provided to you, chapter 4 and chapter 5, same recommendation of the weeks prior. Look over the PowerPoints, do the reading, look through the PowerPoints again. If there's things that are redundant, things that seem you've read or saw before, those are probably the key critical points, and those would be a great one to kind of retain because they're probably the key elements that we're trying to pass on in this course. Now let's jump into our first deliverable. So this is a written exercise. This is our first written exercise so far in this course. These are larger papers that we're looking to write. We want around 3 pages of content. So these were some of the bigger assignments, and that's why it carries the 75 points possible. So here's the breakdown. The important role of the media to the emergency management profession grows more apparent with each successive disaster event. In fact, the media has become an important partner and are now working directly alongside emergency managers and helping to save lives and protect property. So use an internet news media search engine, find an article that informs the public about an impending disaster and which provides preparedness, response, or other relevant information. Included, and I want you to include this following information. So, title of the article and the source, the URL of the article. And then I want you to describe this. I want you to break down the disaster in detail. And then was this a pre or post disaster article? What warning or other preparedness/response information was contained in the article? And finally, and I think this is a really good one, your impression on whether or not the information in this article helped to save lives and our property. And I need you to explain your answer. So the breakdown, writing style and completeness of the answer. So this is one of our larger writing assignments, and that's why I want 3 pages, a minimum of 3 pages of content. That doesn't include your title or reference page. So 3 pages of content. So in order to get 3 pages of content, you're going to need to find a decent source. So find a decent article from a credible source that references a credible government agency or entity that's trying to give this preparedness. Describe what it is about the emergency, and then that last one is so critical. Was it effective? Did it reach people? Do you think that people did what they were asking? Do you think that the article was wrote in a fashion in which people would actually could absorb and utilize, or was it not? And this is so important, especially and so relevant if you think just back a year and a half ago, when it comes to the concepts of emergency management and COVID 19. We know that in a matter of hours, if not days, we went from being fully open to completely shut down. We went from various levels and colors and stages in all these various platforms that were presented to us, both at the national level, all the way down to our state, and then to our counties and our cities and our public health officials to give us information. And we witnessed it firsthand. Not saying that you need to use COVID-19, you could use any emergency, but you saw how the dissemination of information is critical, and how sometimes it's difficult. I know that for probably a lot of us here, there was a stage at somewhere during COVID-19. You kind of wondered, what do I need to do? What can I do? What shouldn't I do? Conflicting information. So all of these things could be going through your head as possible thoughts when you go to write this paper. But I'm excited to read your paper. This is always a fun one. Like I said, you don't need to write about COVID-19 if you don't want to, but it's an option. And just go into some content, some good content, and some detail. Follow that rubric. So our next assignment that we have is going to be our quiz. Quiz is going to be just like the previous two quizzes that we had. This quiz revolves around the reading assignment, for this week. So it's going to be on chapters 4 and 5. All I try to do with my quizzes is to ensure that you're retaining the information and you're absorbing it. There's no time limit on this quiz, but once you start it, you need to complete it in one setting. And so use some time management, and then you can always repeat this quiz one time after the first if you want a higher score. And my reasoning behind that is, if you miss something, I want to make sure that you look at it, correct it, get clarification, so that we're retaining accurate information. And then finally, once again, critical assignment, read through, try to keep working through this week on end. If you start your critical assignment preparation early, you're starting to see that the assignments kind of marry with them. So whatever you're researching for your critical assignment, whatever event, that could easily relate to the media written exercise that we have this week. So you can see how that connection goes. So that just takes away from the research, some of the sources that you're going to need for this. So just continue to be diligent and work through this. Remember, you're going to need to get approval of your topic in week 5, so in a couple weeks. So it's not necessarily that you need to have anything like concrete at this point, because we're early in this course. But once again, all these assignments you should be thinking through, having an idea what the critical assignment is, so you can start building towards that and be ready to go on week 5 with giving me whatever your topic is, and then we can have those all knocked out and ready to submit early week 8. So that's it. That's week 3. Look forward to getting through another week. I look forward to reading through all of your written assignments. My kind of disclaimer, as I try to give you every week, is that if I'm not hearing from you, I assume everything is going good. That's a great thing on my end if I'm not hearing from you, but just please keep in mind that if you have any questions, concerns, issues of any sort, reach out to me. We'll solve them all. So I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers this week. Have a great, safe week, and I look forward to talking to you real soon. Bye for now.